zoom out on a Bitcoin daily chart, and this is what you see. A lot of panic in the markets right now. Bitcoin testing a very critical area of support on the short term. We're going to discuss that in the video, but I really want to talk about this lower trend line. There is a bunch of context that needs to be discussed around that area. And in this video, I'm going to break down why I think we will not even touch the area. And if we do, it will be the last time. And that's after about a half a year of consolidation bouncing off this lower trend line. There is a lot forming on these charts that I think is very worth paying attention to. So please hit the subscribe, hit the like. Let's dive into the technical analysis here. And this is really a great roadmap right now for all of crypto. I want to start with a clip from the other day. Check this out. But going back to the daily, what we're looking for, what I'm watching, is now that we have the 20 crossing above 50, can we see support there? This higher low support for continuation. And maybe this is what October looks like. Some pain. We're in the $61,000 area. People are like, October's over, it's done. And then all of a sudden, the rest of October, we get the bounce. And if we look at last October, this is where things are kind of cool. We are definitely seeing people say, it's over. October is over. And this is what it looks like on the daily chart now. We've revisited the 50-day moving average. I should say we're revisiting right now. We have on this daily candle 2 hours, 41 minutes, and there's a strong chance that Bitcoin closes below this area. Remember, if we zoom out on this chart, and this is short-term support, it's not game over if it fails, but if we zoom out, we go back to October, so many similarities in terms of the weekly zoomed out chart, this daily chart, compared to this move back here. But check it out. There's the 20-day crossing the 50, and we had this throwback to that 50-day moving average. And it's a commonplace move we always look for anyway when we're getting the 20 above the 50. We've gotten it, right? It's happened. There are events happening that are triggering markets to the downside right now, just like there are events happening that sometimes trigger markets to the upside. And it's still, when we have an event happen, it's still just charts, right? And we use the charts as a guide, as a roadmap through these events. So oftentimes we get events triggering certain moves. And here we are, triggering the move down to the 50-day moving average. It's the first thing I'm watching on these charts. Oddly enough, I'm gonna look at the zoomed out charts towards the end of the video, but it's the 6 hour that has my attention right now. And let me explain why. And this really plays into what I was saying about this lower trend line, maybe not even ever being revisited, right? So let me explain. On the 6 hour, I really like the 6 hour chart. Even from a zoomed out perspective, we get a lot of knowledge and data in terms of how Bitcoin moves. And here's what we're looking at. You can see the 6 hour has hit oversold on this RSI. And this is why I like 6 hour, especially from a momentum perspective. You can zoom out very easily and get a lot of data, a lot of timeline data. So here's this entire falling wedge. And if you just look, when it's hitting oversold in this pattern, each time it's basically hitting the lower trend line, right? So those two things are going together when Bitcoin's hitting oversold. What's interesting to me is right now Bitcoin is hitting oversold, and this doesn't mean the pain is over, but I look at this as a very bullish indicator and also an indicator that says the bottom is actually, I think, close. There could be some type of capitulation in the very short term, but I think there could be a very strong bounce from after that happens. But we're in oversold, and look at this. We're not hitting the lower trend line right now. Bitcoin price is still all the way up here. So obviously, we just looked at the daily chart. We're testing that 50-day moving average. I want to see how the candle closes today, and we'll get our answer. I'm going to upload this video. You'll probably be watching this new video tonight, maybe overnight in the morning, and we'll see how this daily candle closes and the momentum. We might be failing here, but it's this area. If you look at the higher low on this chart, the higher low area, if I can open up the Fibonacci, from this swing low back here to swing high, it's that green rectangle, right? So it's clearly below the 50-day moving average. It's in this area of around 58,000 at the upper end to around 55,500 or so. That's the area of support. What I want to point out is if we get that move, what is the RSI? Maybe not point out, but I want to explore the question. If we get this move, right? I don't know when it would happen. I don't know if it's now. I don't know if it's sideways for a little bit and then we're falling. I'm just so curious what this RSI is doing. on the 6-hour chart. But that support is there, right? And that's an environment where we're already oversold. Notice this. If I look back and we look to, let's look right here. This is a 6-hour chart, but let's look at this move before going lower. Let's look at it on the daily chart. And that was the end of June. So going back to the daily chart, check this out. End of June, a little bit of consolidation and then lower, right? What I want to point out is if you look at where Bitcoin was, swing low to swing high, that move before going lower was testing this entire Fibonacci, right? So now here we are, swing low to swing high. We're not even testing the Fibonacci yet. So this is what I'm saying in terms of price, Bitcoin price hanging out in this upper end of the wedge while it's so oversold on the 6-hour. Not sure if that makes sense or not, but this is to say, if Bitcoin goes lower, right now in the short term, and we continue in oversold, we could find ourselves, and I'll say this is why I don't think we're going to even touch that lower trend line. We might get support prior to the lower trend line. We might get support. We have all the space still to go down to the mid 50s. We might, and we're going to be very oversold in that environment. And then we get our bounce to the upside. We don't hit the lower trend line. But here's what I really want to say. If we do hit the lower trend line, this would probably be in some type of capitulation event. And I think it's the last time we hit the trend line. And Bitcoin will be so oversold if this happens. If we continue all the way down to like $50,000, Bitcoin would be massively oversold on the 6-hour. And we'd be in this environment on the 6-hour that is like, really bear market bottom type of oversold, right? So that is why I think that will be the last time Bitcoin hits that area. And this is also why I think this entire 6-month consolidation is almost over. Now, I have to mention, and then we'll look at the zoomed out charts, on this, this is a daily chart now, but on the daily chart, I'm throwing these speculations out there. We don't even hit the trend line, or if we do, it's the last time. If we're approaching the trend line, doesn't matter what we think, if the bottom would be in right here, or we're getting some type of capitulation that takes us lower, it's absolutely worth just anticipating the ultimate capitulation, the ultimate bottom. That's around $40,000. It's a target out of the falling broadening wedge, right? If we're talking about a lower trend line potentially being hit, we have to anticipate that it's going to be a break to the downside. And in that case, we looked at the 6-hour. In that case, we would need to absolutely just watch what's happening on the momentum oscillators on the daily chart, and we'll get hints of what the bottom might look like. Whenever Bitcoin does start reversing, are we getting another bullish divergence, some type of higher low on the RSI, right? This has been the story of higher lows, bullish divergence on the RSI for Bitcoin through this pattern. Is that happening? Or are we actually going to fall into oversold on the RSI if Bitcoin's capitulating to a $40,000 target? These are things we have to explore and kind of just wait to see how they play out. But it really does all start on the zoomed in. And this is the 6-hour chart. For me, it's, do we get the support at the 50-day moving average, that blue line Bitcoin is at right now? It could happen. Crypto could bounce here. And if not, do we get the support while Bitcoin's already oversold? Do we get the support at this higher low Fibonacci? And it would be a big, big area of support, showing a different momentum of Bitcoin right now after 6 months of consolidation, if we're getting supported at Fibonacci while being very oversold on the 6-hour. So this is just why I think the bottom is kind of almost in. And I want to say this. It's October 2nd right now. I posted this the other day. A dip of this size on the first day of October might be the biggest indicator that October will close green. It's always within the dip. People are just freaking out. Oh, I guess that's it. But this gives us a little time. We're getting all of these red candles going into October. Give us another week, maybe even 2. And we could get a breakout to the upside to end October green. So the month is not even close to over. It just started. And so we have a lot to watch for, clearly, within all this consolidation. Anything can happen. But just wanted to throw that out there. Wanted to see, are you bullish? about history repeating itself. We've been here before. Don't panic. We're in October. We can't just guarantee we're going to get up to October, but it's definitely going to be fun to watch. He has this chart here, halving years. Not to mention, this is a halving year, 2024. We've seen what's happened in halving years in 2020, 2016, in October. Is it going to repeat? We're in this high fear environment, but I just think a lot of times people get kind of pulled into that and they think it's over, and all of a sudden it bounces. And there are some hints, I would say, on this chart that are saying that could very, very likely happen. So these are my thoughts on Bitcoin right now, just hanging out. If we look at Bitcoin zoomed out on the monthly, this is the picture to watch. We have, just look at this chart. In the worst case scenario, a revisit to this, this is like the long-term higher low area, right? The 200-week moving average. This was the capitulation right before Bitcoin halving area back in March 2020. That area, and look where it is. It's around the target out of this falling broadening wedge, and we're still putting in a higher low on Bitcoin. Bitcoin could be resetting on the macro, and the bull market is still in play. So whether it's October or not, does not really make a difference. You zoom out on a Bitcoin chart, and guess what? Things are looking very bullish, even if we're breaking down to that area. But that's probably for mostly macro-minded people. Maybe if you're a zoomed in person, that's not the best chart. But for me, that's what I need to look at, because I'm a long-term macro-minded person here in crypto, and these are my thoughts. That's all it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I appreciate you cruising through. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.